gentlemen. Sorry to have kept you waiting. I only hope that it gave you some time to digest the food that you might have eaten, and hopefully it also gave us some time to wake up. It's not the finest of hours to hold a stimulating discussion, but I think the topic is so exciting that it will wake us all up. If you look at India today, we have a mobile telephony penetration of around 800 million connections already. And in a nation of 100 crore, 110 crore, that's about 1.1 billion. The coverage is very significant already. And we have only just begun, because we are heading into a very interesting phase where phones are getting smarter with new smartphones coming. We have new platforms like Android which are multiplying the penetration of handheld devices. At the same time, if you look at the fact that literacy levels in the country are so low, not basic literacy, but higher, slightly better increased form of education. It's very clear that on the one hand there is this opportunity presented by mobile telephony and mobile connectivity. On the other hand, the challenges of a developing country which is going through a huge demographic transition. So it almost seems like a no-brainer that mEducation or mobile education can dramatically alter the situation in the country and provide a tremendous boost to bridging the gap between what we call the knows and the know-nots. I have with me a very interesting panel of very senior and experienced professionals with different perspectives. On my left, we have Rupesh Daheria, who is the CEO of AT School of Business and Telecommunication. Then we have Anurag Gambhir, who is an innovation expert. He's a strategic advisor to various companies in the telecom and mobile space. He's also been with Ericsson in the past. To my immediate right, you have Prakash Bajpai, who is currently the CEO and founder of Tikuna Digital Networks. He has earlier been associated with just about everyone you can think of, Tata and Reliance and Lucent. So he's a sort of dipped in the telecom industry, so to speak. And then we have Sandeep Vishwas, who's director of the telecom media practice at Deloitte. And between them, these gentlemen should provide us what I believe is a well-rounded presentation of the gaps that might be required to be filled. Because on the one hand, it's very clear that we have a very solid opportunity. And it's essentially about making people have access to uniform education at low cost. This is what you could call the fortune at the bottom of the education pyramid. So if you can think of a nano for mobile transport, we should find out the equivalent of the nano for education. That's where mEducation is all about. So let me begin by asking Bhupesh, in slightly more concrete terms, what do you think are the biggest challenges as well as opportunities in mEducation?
The biggest challenge I see that developing the complete ecosystem in silos like education institutions, and there are a lot of organizations which are developing education content. So there are a lot of tons of education content is already available. But how you can really market that education content, how you can reach to a customer, that is one issue. The second issue is how you want to really make money out of that content, because people don't want to really pay for any online content from that. That is the second issue. The third issue is operators, service providers coming together, right, and really taking it and building up a $1 billion business model, right? Scalability. Because if different companies are working in a silo, that it doesn't really make a business sense. So if you really develop a $5 billion business and out of which say $2 billion the industry takes away, right? That is a business kind of model we are talking about. And this can be done. This can be easily done. If the government really comes, if the education providers come, when the universities come and universities start making their classrooms wherein they can capture the content live environment rather than a studio environment. Right? So you'll find a lot of content which was shot in studio, but in a studio there's no live available. So you have to really capture a content in a live class, right? Wherein the faculty can really show its emotions. That is a challenge. So there are practical difficulties. How do you really author the content? There is no framework available. Different people are capturing the content in different technology. You capture the video lectures in universities in HD camera or a camera, like the way this guy is recording. But how do you really transmit over the net? Then the bandwidth doesn't support.
Yeah, that's
So
a
there's a lot of
technological
issues.
challenge. Of course, ultimately, we have to bring the magic of the classroom into remote education. Nothing like a great professor, in a very hand-holding sort of a way, guiding people in a classroom. That magic has to be recreated in a remote, low-cost environment. Let me now take you to Sandeep Vishwas. Obviously, you need technology platforms to enable this. So let's first crack the technology puzzle. Where do you think the game is at right now, and what are the things that exist, and what do you think could emerge or should emerge?
Let's take a step back. Remember, we've been discussing some time back is what's the ecosystem? We have 95% voice SMS driven, 5% is non-voice SMS stuff, which is data utilization. That's completely dominated by entertainment channels. That's the time you'll find that space is getting opened up. People will have serious application, will be sipping in through that, both for 4G, 3G, and other stuff. So that application in that domain, mEducation will be very, very popular. So that's one of Deloitte's, the prediction today. Two is to make that mEducation really, really meaningful. I'm not addressing the economics part of it. You need to really seriously look for the three parts of the technology. One, there should be a significant amount of facility available through the devices. Today we have that already. Laptop has that the facility with a laptop it has everything. We have tablets that are coming today. We have a very serious smartphones which can be used for the mobile mEducation purpose. Second, you should have a serious amount of applications which will give you that same kind of a look and feel as if you are sitting in the classroom, or that kind of feel of application and supported by a content. We really need to sit and discuss that. Do you have that adequately here? We just cannot complain saying that we have the platform, nobody's using it. Because till the time you have a very, very sensitive applications and supported by the content, and the people who can really replace your conventional classroom to that education, then only there will be a stickiness will be achieved. And the third point, I think India is really sincerely considered that to solve today to next 2 to 3 years time to make education really popular is how the access will happen. A smooth and affordable and adequate and everywhere available, that kind of access will be there. Today, I know, I cannot afford a student, in a B class city, possibly cannot afford to spend money on a 3G and access very high-end content on education and really pay so much of money. So these are 4 things we need to really solve together. Then only we'll find that mEducation will really fly. India, we have the other end. We have enough capacity and capability to generate the content. We have great teachers, we have great universities and all that, and there are students and parent communities there who are looking for this kind of application. We need to really join them together, teach them together. So technology, let me recap, one device, it's almost there. That's not a big challenge there. 2 is the access. There's a serious challenge, we need to close that. It should be completely available all the time, affordable, smooth, and uninterrupted. And the third piece is application and content. We need to sit together and identify, and corporates must get into that and pump in their their efforts into that to get it happening. So that's a Deloitte point of view.
That's very interesting. Let me look at it from a different point of view. Let's take the focus slightly backward into the, let's say, the rooms of the telecom service provider. Prakash Bajpayee, you've been associated with telecom service providers. I'm keen to know from the back end, because Sandeep Biswas was talking about a lot of the front end and the service is from the point of view of the customers and the users and the students perhaps. But from the back end, do you think, is there something that needs to be done? Is the existing infrastructure adequate, or do you need some extra push there, either in terms of business model issues so that to make people pay, or in terms of technology gaps itself?
I think there's a whole lot to be done. The industry has seen some very exciting times in the last decade. Mobile has really taken on the way it has. It has been almost like an explosion. It's been a revolution. Fantastic news for India. Nobody complains today that you can't make a phone call today in India, right? But at the same time, the downside news is that because of this mobile gold rush, the broadband infrastructure got completely neglected. So nobody invested money in building a broadband ecosystem actually. So you don't see in India the landlines, very little telephone wires, no TV cable systems, and that's how the broadband has been delivered all across the globe. Right? So you are a country which is now devoid of any landline infrastructure. Therefore, our homes are not well connected. We don't get broadband experience in our homes. If you are a small medium enterprise, you don't get connectivity. In your colleges, you don't have any connectivity. So, this education platform that you're talking, the opportunity, is indeed a great one. But it's a combination of connectivity and content. And education, the more you deal into the education-related application, it's going to be more about video. In fact, we are talking about real-life interaction. A professor, specialized into a subject domain, he would want to deliver, people want to ask him question in an interactive application, doubt clearing and all of that good stuff. And that's what people are ready to consume today. I mean, Indian demographics, we know how exciting it is, the young population. And Indian parents have the right mindset to spend money, invest money in their kids' education, on their skill set, on higher education. So everything is going for us, except this infrastructure big miss. It's like saying, that India missed that industrial revolution, we missed that revolution, and this time, it's almost like a similar situation that we have a broadband revolution, which has to be unfolded here. Now, nobody is going to be able to build the landline infrastructure all over again. It is so difficult, so tedious, so capital intensive, so effort intensive that it's almost an unviable idea now. I mean, if you had wireline of the past, fair enough, you can enjoy. China has it this time for 50 million copper lines. And they're happily converting and provide connectivity everywhere. But here in India, we have only about some 20-30 million urban landline connections. That's why it's a crisis. We are less than 1% broadband penetration, 4th lowest in the entire world. So if landline is not going to happen, then the only thing left out with us is wireless. And in wireless, if you have to deliver high capacity connection, high speed connection, which can support video and interactivity and high definition content, right? Then you require tons and tons of spectrum. How many tons? I mean, you're talking about hundreds of megahertz of spectrum that you need to have.
Spectrum is not India's favorite word, right?
It's not a favorite word at all. I mean, how much entertainment we do on TV and press on spectrum issue, right? And so it's going to be always a scarce commodity. And I think that makes the Indian challenge of a huge dimension. It is not something which is going to go away so easily, right? But within that set of constraints, and this is where the innovators got to come and play, right? So within that set of constraints, because you're not going to get 100 megahertz of spectrum, yes, 4G technology like LTE and Wi-Fi will be available, but they still require spectrum. You will have to innovate to try and create, how do I create a opportunity-specific solution, right? How do I create a broadband enable entire education complex, a university, studios? How do I give broadband connectivity to students in the homes so they can access the high capacity, high speed content? And I'm talking about high speed here, 4 megabit per second upwards, because less than that you will not enjoy the high definition experience, right? It's not going to be a small screen, tiny little 2 by 2.3 inch TFT on which you can have education, useful content being delivered. You require at least the tablet format or iPad format, and best of course the laptop format. on which you can do serious study, serious application. You can see PowerPoints, you can see Word documents, you can see Excel, and as well as the canned content. Content is available, as Bhupesh mentioned, that there's plenty of content getting generated. Metadata can be ingested on that. There are technologies available to make it education on demand, by topic, by search, and of course the live delivery. So I think on one side, happy news, lots of people in an absolute ready condition to deliver it. On another side, there are some innovative models required. I'll talk about later when I get an opportunity as to what those models
Very,
are.
very interesting. 2 points he made which are very interesting. One is that connectivity should move from the basics. In other words, from the quantity of connectivity to quality of connectivity is what we are looking at down the line. The second thing which he mentioned in passing towards the end of his words is about the way you can manage and sift through content that is required. I have a big issue on that because being a content person myself, I believe I use the word magic of the classroom. It's not just about searching for some text. It's much more to be done there. Much more innovation needs to be done there. So let me take you to Anurag there. He's the innovation man. I wanted to particularly also look at content development and publishing, because this is not just about the car, this is also about the passenger. Content is what sits in there in the network as it reaches the mind of the student. Where do you think the game is at? Where do you think we can, and is there anything that you can say about what has been done or what can be done on that?
So I think definitely broadband will be the information superhighway or the real foundation, but we really need the hyper-local content to reside on that. Firstly, I think education needs to be it ought to be hygiene, standard hygiene. And we try to bridge the rural-urban divide, but it's the illiterate divide that we really need to address here. And I think scale is going to be very critical here. And for that regard, I've been looking at this project Sakshat, which was announced over a year ago, the low-cost access device, or the $35 tablet, the infamous or the famous project, which I think is very close to coming to fruition now. So in the next few months, we'll have about 100,000 of these tablets, which are not at 1,500 rupees price, a little bit higher, which will be rolled out in the market for students. And so there's a lot of potential there to really get into the hands for the students to enable the right content, so that they can actually access tele-education or mEducation content. But I think it's about giving them the power so they can actually create a lot of content in that regard also. So I think it's really about this new knowledge economy. We're talking about the Wikipedia approach, where people are also interactively contributing to a new approach of learning, where everybody is contributing. It's not a professor-student one-way relationship. It's more about really combining a new collaborative or collaboration, as I call it.
Very interesting. I love that word,
Yeah.
collaboration.
Yeah.
It's like this. I think it's interesting because we are talking about things like user-generated content and crowdsourcing, lots of new expressions coming into play. The common thread running through all this is that as internet and mobile connectivity brings people together, there is a scope for a lot of startups to emerge in creation and management of content, lots of software application delivery-based models that channelize the right content to the right persons.
In fact, just a couple of days ago, Sam Petroda announced that the 1,500 node National Knowledge Network, the NKN, will be rolled out in a 24-month time frame. So, and I think 300 odd nodes, which will be connected globally, connecting all the universities and institutions, is already underway, of which half of them are already in place. So I think there is a mass rollout happening of the foundation, but we need to really bring on the whole ecosystem together to bring in the right content partners, the quality content, and stitch it all together really.
Now, but there still remains what I call the golden question. Nothing's really going to replace a good teacher. So, but teacher it's basically the teacher's brain and articulation that travels through the best mobile network, whether it's a small classroom. So let's talk to Bhupesh the area about, the faculty question. Is there the requirement for any special faculty when it comes to mEducation? And is there any issue relating to reaching the audience that needs to be addressed?
So let me answer your first question. Yes, there is scarcity of the faculty. If you really start counting, say for example, take, like say finance. So if you start counting on fingers, you can count on fingers, you'll hardly have around 10 faculties in India to reach finance, who really know their subject. Okay, and we are talking about 4,000 business schools in India, and we are talking about 1 million students studying in this MBA program. And we're talking about a student paying something around $10,000, 5 lakh rupees per student, 1 million. And you have around 10 faculties, good faculties who can teach finance, right? So there is a wide gap, and there is an amazing business opportunity, right? So people are already paying, and whatever the existing faculty is there, there is another business model wherein you can retrain those faculties, because you can't really bring brilliant faculty. You have to really hold the hand of the average faculty and make them brilliant, right? So you need to really train faculties in terms of mEducation, because when it is a live classroom training, right, a lot of shortcomings can really go underway, which you will not be able to really find out. But when it is a live, on mobile, on a tablet, like we are delivering these sessions for last 6 months, Aegis is doing experiment for telecom executives, and we are doing it for last 6 months. We have over 100 students, and we are doing it successfully. But we had initial problems, like initially, like people were cribbing about the connectivity. So you have, like we had a bad issue of connectivity to our school, right, on the receiver side. So connectivity is a major issue, and that is where the Kona and Aegis has joined hand, that if somebody joins the MBA program, they get the 2 years Wi-Fi connection free of cost at their home, because at one end we can deliver the content, but he is not able to receive. So the whole ecosystem really need to build. You need to really train faculties. You need to, if you don't have a faculty, you need to really import faculty from overseas. So we have roped in faculty from overseas, wherein they can deliver lectures from there. But you have to really import that lecture over here. So you need good connectivity. So what Prakash has said, the center point is, yes, connectivity, and the other point is the content. And content is the faculty. Faculty has to deliver content.
I think implicit in what Bhupesh is saying is the element of what I call enlightened pedagogy. The teaching has to be really magical, which means actually teachers are rock stars if you really look at it.
Yes.
A good teacher is like a rock star, but the students should feel that this is a rock star, for which I think what we need is also a culture of best practice migration, which is historically been very commonly seen in every other industry, but not in the education industry. You should look at a good teacher and say, hey, what is this person doing that we can actually migrate? And in the mobile space, that becomes scalable. That's a very interesting point. But I still have to hit on the basic question: where's the money? So Prakash Bajpayee is the person to answer that. It is as simple as 1, 2, 3 that people are willing to pay if they get the good content, assuming connectivity, assuming content. Where is the money game going?
Well, I think again, as I said, we generally talk about mobile VAS as the reason why we use the terminology VAS is it's going to give you some fun, some excitement, but no money actually, right? Very little money, if at all. But the good news here is that when you say mEducation, and as I said before, I think we are lucky to be in a country where the general people mindset is that I want to invest money for my kid to become smarter than I am, right? And they are willing to spend any amount of money for that. The students are serious, they want to build career, they want to compete globally, and they are ready to pay money, they see that as an investment. So there is a serious money available. So money is not a problem from the source, because ultimately customers' pocket fills up everybody.
Yeah, in fact, just imagine, just people have been paying 6 rupees just to make an SMS vote on whether they like an amateur singer or not in Indian. Surely they would be able to pay for a good teacher if we only connect the dots between teachers and the mobile ecosystem.
So it's all about creating that experience for which they will consider there is a value in it, right? So apart from the college or the institution that he joins, how can he accentuate his learning? How can he compete better? How can he come out to be a smarter MBA grad after his college? So he's looking for all of those innovative ideas, provided we can deliver it to them in the fashion. So there is nothing substandard about it. There is nothing small screen about it. There is nothing like an inferior device, cheap device. No, no, no. They don't want any cheap device. They are happy to spend good money on a tablet because it's like a consumer mindset. You want to buy a good, device, and you want to get a good experience on which you can really do the serious business of learning. Serious business of learning, archiving, storing, manipulating the content, revisiting the content, doubt clearing. As I said, as he said, the good professors are like a piece of gold. When they radiate, you want it to absorb all. Right? When they are talking, then you want to do your doubt clearing. That's the benefit that they are looking for, aspiring to get. Now, that is something which is possible when you create an unfettered connectivity, and that's really the belief that we have in Ticona. We want to go down to campuses and the colleges and the homes and say, hey, don't worry about speed, don't worry about how many gigabytes. So we are not counting by megabyte, like 10 rupees per megabyte. Yes. I mean, you listen to 1 hour lecture on video, and probably you will have to spend 10,000 rupees actually, I mean, if you go with the 3G tariff. So no, that is not going to cut the eye. That's not going to really come up to the level of expectation. So I'm talking about unleashing the gates. Unfettered connectivity, unlimited download. Right? That's the kind of infrastructure that's built in.
This is
and
what
it's
I-
possible to build it.
This is what I call the all-you-can-eat education.
All you can eat education, absolutely right. Right? I mean, think about it that if a campus is enabled, there are those companies, corporates who are willing to spend money to engage these smart students to do development work for them, provided they are connected. So